Blackberry was supposed to be history. One of those brands we laugh about like MySpace. Fun while it lasted, but never coming back. Touchscreens took over, autocorrect ruined lives, and the Blackberry keyboard just vanished. But here's the plot twist. Some people never let the keyboard go. They wanted real buttons, real typing, and that Blackberry feeling. And now they're actually getting it. Because the Blackberry style is coming back. Not as rumors and not as concept art. These are real phones you'll actually be able to buy and use. When Blackberry ruled and then disappeared. There was a time when pulling out a Blackberry instantly made you look important. Business people loved it, students wanted it. The physical keyboard was fast, the security was strong, and the whole phone was built for messaging and work. And it wasn't just a phone, it was the phone. But then everything changed. Full touchscreen phones exploded, app stores took over, and Blackberry never caught up. Bit by bit, the world moved on. The last real Blackberry branded phone to hit the market was the Key 2 LE in 2018. And after that, it was just pin drop silence. Blackberry phones basically faded into remember when territory. And just like that, a brand that once defined smartphones became a distant memory. But here's the funny thing, even when the world stopped paying attention, the people who loved that keyboard never forgot it. They didn't switch because they wanted to. They switched because they had no choice. And that tiny loyal crowd is why this comeback exists at all. Why people still want Blackberry-style phones? Here's the surprising part. The world moved on, but a small group of keyboard loyalists never did. They type faster, make fewer mistakes, and don't have to fight autocorrect every 10 seconds. Writers love it, business users swear by it, and nostalgia buyers treat those little keys like comfort food. And you should also know, modern phones made it even easier for people to miss the old days. Every phone turned into the same shiny slab of glass. Same shape, same typing, and basically same everything. So the moment a phone shows up with real keys, it doesn't feel old anymore. It feels different. It kind of pops out in a crowd of look-alike devices. What makes this even funnier is that the industry basically forgot these users existed. Most phones today don't offer physical typing at all. People who want it literally have nowhere to go. So a keyboard phone returning isn't just a retro gimmick. It fills a hole in the market that nobody else is serving. The demand is small, but it's real. And now that someone's finally building phones for the keyboard crowd again, things just got a lot more interesting. The company that refused to let the keyboard die. Here's where the comeback stopped being a fantasy and turned into something real you can actually hold. Blackberry isn't returning, so a company called Zinwa Technologies stepped in on their own. They didn't build a clone and they didn't create a cheap copy. They used real Blackberry classics as the starting point and rebuilt them from the inside. New internals, modern Android, smoother performance, better hardware, and the same iconic keyboard that people loved. They call this a Restamod, which is basically taking a classic device and upgrading it for today. And just so you know, this wasn't some small garage experiment for tech hobbyists. The revived classics actually moved into mass production. That alone says a lot, because nobody invests in mass production unless there's genuine demand. Zinwa also made the experience flexible. You can get a pre-built classic that's already upgraded, or you can grab a DIY kit and revive your own device. So if you've had an old classic sitting in a drawer, waiting for a miracle, this literally brings it back to life instead of letting it collect dust. Suddenly, the Blackberry Classic isn't just a memory, it's a working device again, built for people who still care about real typing. And the best part is that the Classic wasn't the end goal, it was just the opening move. Zinwa used it to prove there was still interest in keyboard phones, and once that was clear, they moved on to even bigger projects. The Passport Revival Project. If reviving the Classic was bold, reviving the Blackberry Passport is on expert mode. The Passport wasn't a typical phone. It was wide, boxy, and built for people who wanted something completely different from the usual shape of a smartphone. Zinwa wants to bring it back too, but the plan is very different from the Classic. They're not selling fully finished Passport units. There just aren't enough original Passports left in the world to make that possible. So instead, Zinwa will sell hardware kits that let people upgrade the phone themselves. You take a first-generation passport, open it up, and install the new internals. And you should also know, the kit only works for the first-generation passport. The Silver Edition isn't supported because there aren't enough of them to build a proper run. Zinwa has also said the hardware still needs more testing and fine-tuning, so the kits will need more time before they're ready. It might sound intense, but that's the only way to bring the passport back. The passport always had a tiny audience, but a loyal one. The fact that users can rebuild it themselves says everything. If the Classic proved there's demand for keyboard phones, the passport shows some people are willing to get hands-on just to keep the Blackberry spirit alive. The new device built from scratch. This is where the comeback stops being a revival project and starts looking like a real return. Zinwa isn't just repairing old phones anymore. They're building a completely new one. It's called the Zinwa Q27, and one look at it tells you exactly what it's inspired by. Small screen on top, full QWERTY keyboard underneath, and a compact frame made for typing without fighting autocorrect every 5 seconds. The cool part is that the Q27 isn't a refurbished Classic or Passport. It was designed from scratch to look like a modern Blackberry relative. It runs Android, it has a bright 3.92-inch AMOLED display, and the internals are completely updated for modern use. The whole point of the Q27 is to take that familiar Blackberry-style layout and combine it with the kind of software and features people actually use now. Instead of feeling like a museum piece, it feels like a proper phone that just happens to have buttons. What the Q27 offers. Here's the part that makes the Q27 more than a novelty phone. Lots of companies love releasing retro-inspired devices that look cute and then fall apart when you try to use them. Zinwa didn't go that route. They built the Q27 with hardware you'd expect from a normal modern smartphone. The Dimensity 7300 and MediaTek NPU 655 give it real processing power and AI performance. And the 12 GB of LPDDR5 RAM means it can handle multitasking, messages, apps, and work without feeling slow. With 256 GB of UFS 3.1 storage and a microSD slot, you're not boxed in on space either. And just so you know, the connectivity is modern too. eSIM and a nano SIM mean you can run 2 numbers, Wi-Fi 6E, Bluetooth 5.4, and support for 4G and 5G keep it in the same network category as regular phones. The camera setup includes a 50-megapixel main camera, a 16-megapixel selfie camera, and stereo speakers for calls or video. The battery comes in either 3,500 or 4,000 milliamp hours with 33-watt fast charging, which keeps it practical for daily use instead of just looking like a Blackberry tribute. So, the Q27 looks compact and familiar on the outside, but everything inside is aimed at productivity and everyday apps. It fills a space in the phone world that barely exists anymore. A device made for people who still prefer typing to tapping. A small phone built with actual modern hardware instead of being a cute collectible. Is this a real Blackberry comeback? So now comes the big question. Is Blackberry truly coming back? The honest answer is no. Blackberry, the company, isn't returning to make phones again, but the Blackberry spirit is. Zinwa is basically keeping the legacy alive themselves, and they're doing it in 2 ways. First, they're reviving old Blackberry hardware, like the Classic, the Q10, and the Passport with modern internals and Android. Second, they're creating brand new keyboard phones like the Q27. It's the same idea that made Blackberry special in the first place, just rebuilt for today's world. The only catch is that nothing arrives fast. The Q27 won't reach mass production until sometime after testing is done, and the Passport kits also need more time before they're ready. And we don't know if keyboard phones can actually compete against giant touchscreens anymore. But here's the truth. There's a passionate market that never wanted the keyboard to die. That's why this comeback exists. It's not trying to beat Apple or Samsung, it's trying to give people a choice again. So yeah, Blackberry isn't rising from the dead, but that famous keyboard is. And honestly, that might be even cooler, because this isn't nostalgia with no purpose. It's nostalgia that actually works. Zinwa saw a tiny group of users that the rest of the phone world forgot about, and they decided to build for them. If you ever wished someone would bring back real typing, this is your moment. And who knows, maybe this tiny comeback will start something bigger. And that's it for today. I hope this helped you see what's actually happening with the Blackberry comeback and how these keyboard phones are finding a way back into the modern smartphone world. If this video gave you a clearer look at why the keyboard isn't completely dead, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. And if you like this one, YouTube thinks you'll probably love the next one too. Thanks for watching.